Hey guys! With fall right around the corner, I thought we could talk about some of my fall picks for the year and what I will be reading for my autumn TBR. So I kind of split it up into a couple different piles. So I have my YA stack, which is kind of big, and then I have my adult books, and I have one graphic novel as well. So I figured I would tell you guys a little bit about the books I plan on reading this fall. So this isn't just for September. I would be a little crazy to think I could read this many in September. But this will be kind of for like now until like November-ish. And I figured I would pick all of my books that give me nice spooky vibes. So I think let's start with the adult books because it's a littler stack. So the first book that I have chosen for my autumn picks is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So I think most people I hate that I just pronounced her name that like Schwab, but I think most people have probably heard of this book, if not V.E. Schwab. So essentially this is kind of like it gives me dark academia type vibes because it's set in London. So it's about a London area that is like rid of magic after a war, and there is the main character who is someone who travels throughout the different, it kind of seems like universes, so like the different Londons, and he's one of the last magicians. At least I'm pretty sure it's a guy. Yes, I believe so. And so he's kind of like ambassadoring for the different Londons because he's one of the last people who can travel between them. And he meets a girl who saves him. So I think it's a little bit of a love story, a little bit of like magic. I know she has really good magic systems in her books. So I'm pretty excited to see what this one is about. And let's go to the next one. So my next pick is Bunny. So I don't know if this is like commonly seen as a fall book or not, but I chose this one for like an autumn read because it's about like a girl, so she's going to college and she is like a sorority essentially. And they're very cliquey and she's like noticing them, and then they start to notice her back. So she kind of joins this, we can call it a cult because it's essentially a cult. So she pretty much joins this cult, and it's just kind of her story about that. And they all call each other Bunny. So I really like this, and I've heard really good things about Mona Awad. So I'm excited to see what it's about. And I think that this is good for autumn because it's like culty, and then also like starting school. And like I feel like when you start college, it's autumn time. So what better than to read a start of college book? Next one, I've seen this actually a lot on people's feeds. This is my best friend's Exorcism, and it's kind of set in this, I love the cover of it, by the way, like it's so like nice and 80s, and like the stripes, I like very aesthetically pleasing. So it's essentially about these two friends who are, they like go skinny dipping or something like that, and something happens and one of the friends starts acting very weird. So this is a horror book. So I've heard that it's pretty gory, which I have not read very many books that have like actual like gore and stuff in them. So I think this will be my first. Maybe this will segue me into Stephen King. I've always been like a little scared to read Stephen King, but I know that his books are so good. So maybe I'll pick some of those up because I don't have any Stephen Kings on here because I'm a little bit too afraid to read them. And another popular one that I've been seeing is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And this is same like dark academia. So I feel like most of my adult books are just like kind of dark academia type books. And so this is about a girl who has an accident, I believe, and then she gets like drafted or whatever, like asked to go to Yale. And there's like some witchiness going on and some like occult practices. So I think it's essentially like a witchy book set in Yale, which like what is more dark academia than witches and Yale? So I think this one will be really good. I've heard a lot of really amazing things about this book, and I'm pretty sure there's like the second book is coming out soon, I think. I haven't seen much about like, I can't remember what it's called, but I think it has like a bunny on the front of it or something like that. But I have heard that most people thought this was going to be a single book, and then they got to the ending and were surprised to see that it was going to be a multiple book series. So I'm excited to see the end, and hopefully the second one is out by the time I finish this so I can actually, not have to wait, because that's my least favorite thing. Like, I want to get it all out at the same time. I don't want to have to wait for the next one. So that is all of the books in my adult section. So let's move on to the YA, which I have quite a bit more. And these ones are more like, they have a very similar theme, most of them. But let's start off with the first one, which I think is like, I don't know, the most lighthearted. So this is Hotel Magnifique, and this is actually, I think, my Owl Crate edition. But I know a lot of people have been putting this on their list too. And it's essentially about a girl who joins a traveling hotel. So the hotel travels across the world. Like at midnight, it shows up a different place. And there's just some sketchy stuff happening. So it's kind of like a mystery, and she's trying to solve the mystery with a hot, I think he's a bellboy, or doorman, or something like that. And so I think there's going to be a little bit of romance in here, as well as some like mystery kind of like discovering stuff. And I really like the concept of this. Like the hotel, like this girl, she just like wants to, you know what I mean? She wants to see the world, and she wants to like make her life more exciting. So she like hops onto this hotel that travels. And I think that's like I like the concept. I haven't read anything where it's like that. It kind of gives me, I know this is very far-fetched, but it kind of gives me Howl's Moving Castle vibes. Because of the fact that like Howl's Castle like travels. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably stretching it, but that's what I'm gonna say. It gives me that. The next one I have is Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert. And, oh, it's really shiny. This is my bookish box edition of it. So the actual edition looks quite different, but it's the same book. So it's essentially about a girl, and she is, like, it's her and her mom, and I think they're both witches. And it's kind of like flashing, like all of this stuff that like happened to her mom in the past is like catching up to her. So the daughter is like dealing with it as well. So it's kind of like dealing with the repercussions. The reason I really wanted to read this book, and like I didn't even think like, oh, fall autumnal book, until I actually got this edition, because the artwork on the inside just gives me such good fall vibes. Like it's like a ghosty girl standing in the trees, and I think this is like, I don't think this is really a romance. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about that. But it seems more like kind of like friendship and like mother-daughter relationship type book, which I think is unique to what I've like usually read, because I don't know, I usually read romances. But most of my autumn books I chose actually are a like friend-based essentially. Next one I have is All Our Hidden Gifts by Carolyn O'Donoghue. I could totally be pronouncing that wrong. I honestly picked this book up at first because I loved the cover of it so much. And I really like the size of it. It's oddly big on my bookshelf, so it does look a little weird. But it's like, it's a very tall book. But it's about a girl who she like finds a tarot deck, so witchy vibes, of course, perfect for fall. And she starts doing readings at school, and the one day her like ex-best friend comes and gets a reading from her, and she's like, they find a card that wasn't in the deck before, and essentially her friend goes missing. So, well, I guess it's her ex-friend, but she doesn't care. And she is teaming up with a group of girls who are going to try to find her because she feels responsible that she is missing. I think that this is going to be really good just for the fact that I like the concept of like ex-best friends coming back together. I just think that's cute, and I think that's really good for like YA, and like it's kind of lighthearted, but I like the concept that it's like a mystery, like I feel like that's such a good thing for fall, like where they're like trying to discover something, or like a murder mystery, or someone's missing. I think that's such a good thing, because you know, like we all love to listen to our podcasts about murder mysteries, so why not read about them? So well, hopefully this is not a murder mystery. I don't think it is. So I know there's also a second book for this, which I just found out at Barnes & Noble the other day. So if it's good, how many times am I going to say so in one sentence? If it's good, I will happily pick up the second one. The only thing is I only saw it in hardback, and I really hope they have paperback because I have the first one in paperback, and I hate when they don't match. The next one I actually have read, but I wanted to put it on this list because I love it so much. It is House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland, and these books all have such pretty covers. But this is the perfect fall book. I wish I would have waited to read this because it's about like this group of sisters and one of them goes missing, but they have like they like went missing as children too. So they went missing as children and they like kind of reconnect as like when they're older. So the sisters are like moved out and the youngest one still lives with their mom. And they reconnect and one of them goes missing again. So it's kind of like them searching for their missing sister. Another theme, another missing girl. And they have always been like very weird since they were returned. So you kind of like, all of it at the end is so good. Like you see all these little pieces and they like puzzle together at the end. And it's like, oh my god, I didn't guess like any of the parts of this book. I didn't think it was predictable. And it is kind of like a twist on like a grim fairy tale. Like it's creepy, it's very like descriptive about like the locations, which I very much liked. And this actually freaks me out quite a bit. I would read it before I would go to bed and then I like could not fall asleep at night. So I think this is a good spooky pick, especially towards like October, Halloween, because it definitely will make you want to sleep with your lights turned on. The next one I have, actually the next two are like so similar. They're actually like kind of eerily similar. But this one I have not seen. I know this is older. I don't know if I actually read this first book or not when I was in, I want to say like junior high. And it's a Bad Girls Don't Die novel. This is, I believe, the first one, As Dead as It Gets. And it is by Katie Alender. So these books are actually really good. They're definitely, if they're not YA, they might be middle grade, but I think they're YA. So it's about a girl, so you can see the crap. It's about a girl who like witnesses someone die, and she's kind of being like haunted by these ghosts, so like she can see ghosts as well. And I very much like the vibes of this book, that it's kind of like, what is the I can't believe I can't remember the name of this movie, but like the movie where the little kid sees dead people gives me vibes like that, because she kind of like sees the dead essentially, and her friend group is getting attacked by the dead, so she's like the only person who can like see what's going on. And people actually, like on the back there's like little blurbs saying that like they compare this to Stephen King books, which I think is another, segue to getting into Stephen King, even though this is definitely not going to be nearly as like gory or scary as a Stephen King book because it's not an adult book. But I do think this is a great pick, and it's a series, so they have multiple books. I have the second one up here. I don't remember how many books exactly are in the series, but I definitely recommend checking these ones out. My last YA book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, which I know a lot of people have been talking about this book. And it has a very, it has a similar kind of story to that, I would say, in my opinion. It's a little bit different, but it's about a girl who is, there's a girl who was murdered, and it makes it look like, that her boyfriend had done it, so it was kind of like a murder-suicide, essentially, but they, find, I'm, totally butchering my description of this book. The, main character girl kind of discovers, oh, maybe this isn't exactly what it looks like, so she is kind of investigating and trying to figure out, what actually happened, because she doesn't believe that the story is accurate. And this is a series, so there are multiple books in this. I just have the first one. Hopefully it's good, because I would love to buy the other ones. I know that I've heard a lot of people have said this is a really, really good series. So I think that it'll be a very good pick. I obviously followed, a common theme for these books where I liked, the people missing and witches. Those are pretty much the only two categories I have on this. And then my last book that I want to read this autumn season is a graphic novel, and it is called Squad by, oh, I'm going to butcher their names. I'm just going to show them because I don't want to butcher that girl's last name. So it's by two different people. I don't know if that's necessarily like who wrote, who drew, I'm not sure. But it's about a girl who starts at a new school, and it's like a, you know, fancy school, and they describe it as posh. And she gets noticed by the popular girls and kind of joins into their clique. And one night on a full moon, she finds out that the group is actually a group of werewolves, and then someone dies and they have to do a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm assuming it's kind of like a murder mystery type of vibe, but it's nice and small, and I think this would be like something you could read literally in probably like an hour and a half, maybe, not even. But it has beautiful artwork. That's really kind of why I got it. I just want to show like a little bit of, I just think it's so pretty. And the color scheme is so good. Like I love like the dark, the purples, and there's like blood splatter like on some of the pages, which I think is pretty cool. And I just think it's cute. It reminds me of, so let me know if you've ever seen the TV show Totally Spies. That was like a thing when I was little. And the drawings of these girls totally remind me of that show Totally Spies, and like the drawing of the animation for that TV show. So maybe that's what drew me to this. Let me know if you feel the same way, because I'm intrigued to see if it's like just me thinking that they look the same. And also, let me know if you have any other fall books that you recommend, because I know that my list is quite long, but I feel like it's like a mix of the same stuff as everyone else and then a little bit of stuff that I haven't seen yet. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you pick up one of these books for your autumn TBRs as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!